Hello and welcome. I am your host of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Author Karen E. Osborne. I have 5 novels out. The latest is Justice for Emerson. I am so glad that you're here. This is a space for readers and writers to come together and talk about books. So today's guest is Angela Bier. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Karen, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you could come. I'm so glad you could enjoy it. And enjoy us? Well, yes, but I
Well,
meant
I am
join
enjoying
us.
you because, as we were saying before you started recording, I'm sitting here in freezing Wisconsin with heat that just a second ago wasn't working. And so I'm very much vicariously enjoying your weather.
That sounds that sounds good. And so Angela has written a really interesting coming of age story called Voices.
Yes.
And she's going to tell us all about it. But before you do, a little bit about yourself. Give us a little sense of your background and what inspired you to start writing.
So I came to writing in a very circuitous way. My background is actually in medicine. So the maternal figure in my book is a physician herself. And so the leap isn't too far of a one to make. I always say I accidentally went to medical school. And I accidentally went to medical school because I was just very, very good at going to school. And although I was good at it and enjoyed other things such as writing, I didn't really have the confidence to sort of stray from that very prescribed path. So I always say that I'm happy with the path my life has taken. I wouldn't have met my husband had I not gone to medical school. I wouldn't have met any number of dear friends, and I wouldn't have done the good work that I did for about 15 years of my life. But I was a pediatrician, and eventually I realized I was just very kind of frustrated with where my life was. And through therapy, which I recommend to everyone, as many therapists do, at some point she must have said, you need to start writing things down. And so I did. I just started a daily journaling practice. And this is when my girls were, I have 2 girls, were on the younger side, like not babies though. And so they would be running around playing and I would be writing. And then one day in therapy, she's like, some of the things it sounds like that you're writing about are sort of interesting or universal observations. And I thought, and this was back when blogs were very popular. So I'm like, oh, I'll go ahead. I'll put some of my little musings and essays up on a blog. And people really enjoyed what I wrote. And I could see that what I was observing and describing was something shared by many people. And I love making connections with people. And so the ability to do that through writing made me get braver and braver about it. And so I eventually was feeling brave, and I found in a neighboring community called Waukesha, Wisconsin, a wonderful writing community called All Writers Workplace and Workshop. And I enrolled in a class called Write Your Novel in a Year. Now, I didn't write Voices in a year, and it actually isn't even the first book I published because while working on Voices, I was interrupted by a real life event that required a memoir to be written about it. But over the course of all of that, I eventually came back to Voices and finished writing it and was thrilled to have it published this past June. So that's my story. I have no formal training. I just have a lot of practice and then support from a group of writers that I found in this community.
Yes, yes, and the amazing Kathy Giorgio. I mean,
Yes, you know Kathy. Okay, yes. Have
she
you?
is my
Yes,
writing
you've interviewed
coach.
her before. Yes,
Yes, and
absolutely.
she's my
Yes.
coach. I
Oh, okay.
my last three novels.
There you
She
go.
is so good
She is
and
good
asks
at
me the
helping
best
you be
questions.
brave. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can do this. And then at some point saying, no, you are a writer. You're not trying to be a writer. You are a writer. I'm like, oh, okay. If you say so, it must be true.
So cool. That's wonderful. So tell us the premise and the setting of Voices.
So Voices is based on this idea of a young woman who inherits a gift, and it's sort of a supernatural gift. I say this, there's a whiff of magical realism in this, but it's not. particularly heavy-handed. She just finds that she's able to connect to people in a really unusual way. And the thing that makes it tricky with her is she eventually comes to find that most people, most women who have this gift, inherit it from their mothers. But she somehow didn't. And we don't know how she inherited this gift, this talent, as it's called. But we know that she discovered it later in life and is sort of running amok with this uncontrolled talent in a sort of a chaotic way until she encounters some people who are able to help her solve these voices that she starts to hear. And she struggles with the idea of is she experiencing mental illness? The reader wonders if that could be as well, because we find that there is a family history of mental illness. And so it's just about her discovering what to do with the gifts and the challenges she has, while also figuring out how to do that in the setting of the relationship she has with the two other main voices in the book, her mother, and then her new best frenemy, a girl at the school she moves to, who is initially someone that she really clashes with, but eventually she finds she has an unusual connection to. And it's set
Yeah.
in Wisconsin. It's set in a fictional small town in Wisconsin. That's based on any conglomeration of various small places that I've lived or visited in my life. But it's small town Wisconsin, but near enough to a big city that it's not totally provincial.
Yeah, very cool. So what do you love about Elena?
I love that Elena's has moments of being a disaster area. So one of the things she is sort of prone to doing is just sort of blurting things out or not being totally in control. And she really struggles with this because she wants to be seen as this totally together on top of it person. She's very intelligent. She's very successful at school. And she wants to be seen as totally together, but both by virtue of just being human, a teenager, and then also now struggling with this out of control talent, she can't be. And I like characters that are a bit messy. And I think
Mhm.
everyone, even if they don't have a semi-supernatural gift, especially women, can relate to this idea of moments where you just feel out of control and that you're kind of just flinging emotions all over the place. But
Yes,
that's,
yes,
yeah,
yes. Absolutely. Life is messy. Our characters are so real, so they have to have their own messes. That's for
exactly.
sure. So her frenemy is Kat,
Yeah, her name is
and
Kat.
then the other point of view is Elena's mother. So can you
Megan,
tell
yeah.
so tell us a little bit about them as personalities, as people?
Megan, her mother, is very academic and serious and driven. And but also she is relatable because, especially, so let me rewind. If I were to say, who is this book meant for? I pitched it as a young adult novel, but I
Mhm.
also think it's good for mothers of young adult women. And I think that's part of the
Mhm.
reason I wanted to start writing it. We can get to that later. But she is also struggling with this idea of how do I deal with my child who has been the product of both my person and my nurturing and my worldview. How do I deal with her sort of becoming her own person? So Megan is both a foil to Elena and a challenge for Elena to sort of work through and overcome. But then I like to think she's also a bit of a sympathetic character in her own right and dealing with her own arc. So that's Megan, and she has two very much younger children. Her husband's a stay-at-home dad, so she is dealing with all sorts of interesting life situations in her own right. Kat is a young woman who is part of what would be considered sort of the popular, not so nice crowd at school. She
Mm.
uses that safety of invulnerability through popularity to keep the world at bay. She is actually a very fragile person. She struggles with her own set of issues, mostly around body image, is her big thing throughout the book. Yeah.
They sound fascinating. They sound like really women that you'd want to talk to and sit down and have a conversation with. I like that.
I certainly enjoyed writing them, and I think even if at times they misbehave, and are doing things that are stupid. And I wanted to just like be like, why would you say that? That's kind of the point. They still feel like people that are relatable. And you know, I enjoy reading other genres. I enjoy reading fantasy, but I need to write something not too remarkable, right? I need to write about these everyday people that I see in at some point in my everyday life. And every one of the characters in this book has a nugget of someone, like the way Megan, the mother's husband, Elena's dad, the way he moves, I base that on not his whole character, but just when I imagine him walking around, I imagine my neighbor. Like I'm like, oh, he walks just like my neighbor. So when I have to describe Anders moving through the world, I have a very clear idea of who that's based on.
Do that too. I do that.
Do
I
you?
and I have friends who say to me, I'm in this book, aren't I? I'm her. And I said, well, no, you're not her. But yes, I did take this little piece of you
Yes.
and put her in this person. And it gets to be around my friends and like, do I show up in this one? You know,
Right. And people ask, well, which one of these characters is you? And I'm like, well, they're all me a little bit.
they're all
I
me a little
mean,
bit.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly right. Exactly right. So as you think about your writing journey, um, did anything surprise you? Did you learn something about yourself through the process of writing? You said you started off journaling, so I
yeah.
imagine, yes.
I think, well, one thing that I think many writers express is this, it's a very vulnerable position to put yourself in, to share your thoughts and your observations about the world with the world. So part of what I discovered was that I am strong enough to be vulnerable. Um, it's still scary. And in fact, the first book I wrote was, as I mentioned, a memoir. And people always ask, oh, were you scared that people were going to be angry about the way you described them? I'm like, no, because that was much more, this all happened, right? As opposed to judging me for how could you think such a thing, right? How could you imagine somebody doing that or being in that situation? And I've always worried far too much about what people think of me, and I think writing has helped me to worry slightly less. And I don't look at my Amazon reviews anymore, so I think that's healthy, right? I don't know. The other thing is, I've always been a perfectionist and a hustler, right? Like, if I just work hard and study hard enough, I can muscle this thing through. And oh boy, you can't muscle writing through. There are just days when it doesn't want to happen. And days when I want to finish this chapter, but my brain wants to write about the snow outside. And it's so frustrating because I am like I have my little task notebooks. I love a checklist, and oh my goodness, this part of my life is not commensurate with a task list. Yes. Do you ever put things on your task list that you've already done just so you can cross them off?
Was on the list. I just forgot to write it. So if I write
Exactly.
it down, I can cross it off and feel very good about it.
Very
I don't think
accomplished.
I don't think I've ever told anybody that before.
See, look at us being vulnerable here. Yeah.
That's funny. And needing praise. We need little praise, even if it's just from ourselves. Good job,
That's so
Karen. You got that done.
yes.
So, as you think about your writing journey, both your memoir and now your fiction, um, was there a book or an author that had a really big impact on how you write or how you think about writing?
Yeah, I mean, and going back in time, I've read any number of books about how to write. And I think we've referenced Kathy Giorgio as a very important mentor in both of our lives. So obviously I have to give credit to her. But in terms of a book I read, one of the first books I ever read about writing was Writing Down the Bones. Who wrote, you know that, Natalie, what's her
Yes.
last name? Um,
I can't remember, but I have it on my
I
shelf.
think it's Goldberg. I think it's Goldberg. I read it in college. Again, this was the summer I was taking my MCAT, studying for my MCATs, and just like plowing down this path of I'm going to go to medical school. And I vividly remember the day I read this book. I was staying all summer. I went to Lawrence University, a small liberal arts college in Appleton, Wisconsin. And I stayed up there the summer between junior and senior year, and I did molecular biology research. But one day I didn't have any work to do, and it was a beautiful day, and I took a blanket and I must have taken some notebooks, and I took a lunch, and I just laid on a blanket in City Park all day. And I read that book, and I was so inspired. And I poured it out in letters. And a couple of these because I lived before, I mean, there was like DOS-based email, like you had to go to a terminal. So we mostly
Yeah.
still wrote letters to each other. I'm on the cusp. Um, and actually, one of those letters came back to me. Like a friend who I'm still good friends with is like, I was going through my files and I found this letter you wrote to me, and I really want you to
Hmm.
have it back. Yes. And I was like, wow, what would have happened if I would have been more open to what the universe was trying to tell me at that moment in time? So, and then I
Hmm.
went back to that book, and it's just a treasure trove. And it's not just about writing; it's just about being a observer of life and sort
Yeah.
of being an alive person. So I want to go back and read it again now. It's been a couple years. So
Yeah. I think I should
thank you
go
for
back and read it
reminding me.
again
Yeah, let's
as
reread that
well.
book. We can have a book
Yeah.
club.
I just reread this book. It's for writers only,
I've never read that.
and
Sophie
it has
Byrne.
all of these wonderful quotes from it's a book of encouragement.
Oh,
So you don't have to sit and read the whole thing straight through. It's just
same.
one of those books when you get yourself stuck or you're doubting yourself or
Well,
whatever.
that's funny you say that because I am still doing coaching with Kathy, and I think one of my upcoming questions is what are you working on? And I just am stuck, Karen. I have been trying to work on like another book, right? And I just don't feel like I am fired up about it. And I think I need to get back to more of these just little moments and not worry about what my checklist is telling me to do. So I actually just set myself a task this month of not worrying about accomplishing important writing or significant writing, but I'm just trying to write a little observation every day. And so maybe I'll add reading that book to my sort of fire up month.
Yeah. My son is a writer as well. He's a published author, literary short story writer. But
Wow.
he's got a family, he's got a big job, he owns a business, but he tries to find 15 minutes every day. And it's not, he's working on a project. He has all these short stories and he's written his first novel that he's rewriting. But it's what you said, just 15 minutes, something he observed, something that
Mhm.
he thought of, something, but every day he promises himself 15 minutes of writing. Now, sometimes it lasts an hour, and sometimes getting to the 15 minutes is hard. But, we don't always have to be working on big project. And sometimes those little things turn into something.
Exactly. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
using to give myself? I'm doing something very similar, and maybe this sounds really vain and weird, but last Christmas, my husband gave me one of those red light masks that you put on your face so you don't get wrinkly. I don't know. It gives you red light, and I leave it on for 20 minutes. So while I have it on, my glasses are off, so I can't even see what I'm typing, but I just type away about whatever I'm thinking, and it automatically is 20 minutes.
I'm picturing you, Angela. I'm
Yes.
picturing this. This is really
Well, and
funny.
everyone stays away. The dogs stay away when I have that thing on my face. I look really scary, so no one comes near me.
You have to send me a picture.
Okay, I will, Karen. I'm going to write it on my list.
Okay, I want a picture. So, have you read something recently that you could recommend to our
Yeah,
audience?
I brought some. So I tend to have a lot of books going on at once. So I took a really fun class this summer, and it was on true crime as a genre. And that's not something I will probably ever write, but the man who wrote it, his name is Harry McLean, and this is a beautifully written true crime novel called Starkweather, set in the late 50s, early 60s, about one of the first sort of spree mass killings in the country. It's set in Nebraska, and it is a beautifully written book. And I'm sure I also feel this way because Harry was a wonderful teacher and just a fascinating individual. So if you're interested in dipping into true crime without, it's not gory. I mean, there are moments that are upsetting, but this is about, he said that he chooses the pieces he wants to write or the stories he wants to write about based on, can I bring something new to this, not just a recounting. So for this, he brings to the idea, the teenage girl involved in it was, I think, 16 at the time and was always painted as an equal villain. But he approached from the perspective of she was a victim of trauma for many years. And so he sort of reimagined it. So that was a lovely, lovely book.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to get
Kind of
that
a
for my
different one.
daughter for Christmas. She is a
Oh, it's
true crime fanatic.
he's written a couple others as well. So if she likes this one, again, when I send you the red light picture, I can send you some other recommendations. I'm three-fourths of the way through Hello Beautiful by Ann
Yes,
Napolitano. Have you read it?
yes, yes, yes.
What a lovely book with,
Mm.
and I like a book with shifting points of view, and this has that. I love the idea of relationships between sisters and siblings, and so that was really fun. And I love the idea of learning about people who are not neurotypical from more of an inside perspective and sort of an unexpected way. Because I think that the man who ends up with both sisters would fit that categorization. So I haven't quite finished it yet, but I know like I'm at the point where everything is really happy in the main character's life, and I'm like, oh, it's all going to go downhill. So
It's
I'm
not
kind of
gonna be.
dreading it. I'm supposed to be reading this for my book club, but I haven't even started it yet. But I'm sure it'll be great for the First Ladies. Have you read this one, Karen? It's a New York Times bestseller, so we'll see. And then I just was at the Southeast Wisconsin Festival of Books, and their keynote speaker was Christina Clancy. And so this is on my list of books to read. Shoulder Season is in Southeast Wisconsin in East Troy, a small town in Southeast Wisconsin, on a lake. So lake culture is very popular in Wisconsin. Like people will often have their family's summer cabin on a lake. And it takes place in the 60s when also nearby, near small town East Troy, Wisconsin, there was a Playboy Club. And so people are always like, what? Why was there a Playboy Club in southern Wisconsin? Well, there was. And so I think this is very humorous. She was a very engaging, very funny, very witty, sharp speaker. She was a fun person to listen to be interviewed. So I'm recommending this because I enjoyed talking to her and hearing her speak. And I have no idea if it's going to be good or not, but I sure hope it is.
Probably, she was an enjoyable speaker. She probably is an enjoyable writer. That's what
I
I would
thought
guess.
so.
That's
Yes.
what I
So
would guess. Those are
that's
wonderful.
what's on my stack. And then I meant to grab it, but it's on my daughter's bed. So my younger daughter, am I talking too much? You can
No,
cut
but
me
this has
off.
to be your last one because we're running out of
We're
time.
running out of time. My youngest daughter has never liked reading, and I think that's because she came of age in a time when we were teaching reading in an unusual manner in schools, and that's all I'll say about that. But she's recently discovered the genre of teen romances, and she really likes them. And so I am reading along with her Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. It's a book that she's actually devouring, and it's perfectly charming teen romance. There you go.
I love that you were reading with her. I read with my grandson, not the oldest anymore because he's in college, but the middle
Yeah.
grandson and the littlest one. And I love whatever book they're interested in, I read it too, so we can
Yeah.
have really good conversations. I love
And I
that.
was just happy for her that she found something that she enjoys reading.
That
I
she
didn't care what it
enjoys.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, how old is she?
She's just turned 16. Yeah. So it took a
Nice.
while for us to
Finding
find
a
her
16
niche.
year old, finding anything for a 16-year-old to enjoy is
Girl. Yeah.
no easy feat. Yes, I remember. I remember. So this has been such a wonderful conversation.
I've
And
enjoyed it.
all of you know, thank you. And all of you know who are watching or listening that you can find Angela Bier's books wherever you buy books. So if you buy them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, your local independent store, if you borrow from your local library, if you don't find them, ask for them and they will get
That would
So
be great.
how can our audience be in touch with you?
The easiest way is just to go to my website, which is angelabier.com.
It's pretty perfect. So they can
Thanks.
find out where you're speaking, about your
Exactly.
books, all of
Yeah.
that.
It's kind of quiet
So
right now as we head into the holidays, but my books are currently on sale along with the rest of the Door County Published Authors Collective up in Sister Bay, Wisconsin at the Kris Kringle Market the next 2 weekends. So if you're hearing this in real time, I can't remember if these have a let. It will be like, oh, you missed them, but they will be next year.
you might have birthdays or
Exactly.
other kinds of things that you want to buy a book as a present. Let's make great presents, right?
Absolutely.
When you do get in touch with Angela, and I know you will, I want you to be sure to tell her that you met her on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Have a great week, everybody. See you next time.